Good afternoon, staff and councillors. It's gone 4:30, so I'll open today's meeting firstly by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we're on today, the Wiradjuri and Ngunnawal people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Housekeeping, the staff and the councillors are in the chambers are well aware of the procedure. Out the door to the right and to the road, further instructions. Live streaming, same thing, everyone in the room is aware of. This meeting's being recorded live, and anything that's said will be picked up and recorded. Public forum, we have no speakers. We're all here, no apologies today at all. Takes me to item 6, which is the notice of motion. Councillors, the report's been sent out on the notice of motion in front of you is there for the following reasons, and it's documented there that item F number 4 fails to identify specific properties by lot, and the second point is that it also fails to identify a minimum lot size. As we're all aware now, by those specific things not being there when we voted on that item, it led to staff revealing that there could be 575 properties affected by that amendment to the LEP as it was passed. So that was never the intent of the amendment. So it was only when staff notified me that I spoke to some councillors and we agreed that we had to rectify that and rectify that very, very quickly. So the report is there, councillors. I presume everyone's been through the report. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the move? Councillor Flannery. Seconded, Councillor Armstrong. Okay, so I've mentioned why it's there. Councillor Flannery, would you like to speak to it? Oh, sorry, Councillor Manchester, do you want to?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just a question on it. I'm glad there was the error was picked up on as far as the number of lots from the original one, but it's still more extensive than I initially had imagined this subdivision to be, or this proposed motion covers now both north and south of back to Mondle Road, where I was under the impression it was only going to be on the northern side of the road. Just a question, though, through you, maybe to the director or to the general manager, the extent of this, would this have to go back out to, or should this have been in the public exhibition? You know, this is quite an extensive change to the original document, certainly for the Harden area. And I'm just wondering whether legally this should have gone out to, for exhibition when the LEP document was put out for comment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll also invite the director to add anything in case I've missed something. The recommendation with staff was the original motion in toto, and it did not include this amendment F4, which was brought to the chamber, which is certainly allowable by Councillor Flannery at the time. It was seconded and then it was voted upon. So there is nothing, in my understanding, illegal, out of sorts for it at this point in time. That my understanding is that you can raise it in this way, and I will pass to the director to further that response.
Under the EP&A Act, I believe clause 333, there is a requirement that any substantial change or justification must be submitted as part of the planning proposal put forward. It's identifying that justification and that consultation with the community that could see a response back from the department to question why this amendment's gone through and what sort of consultation justification has been looked at for the purpose of rezoning this land from RU1 to R5, which is going from rural to residential, and which would then allow each one of those lots to actually have a dwelling entitlement. That each dwelling that currently, each lot that currently exists will now obtain a dwelling entitlement regardless of the lot size. The lot size only comes into effect when it's for subdivision. Each one of those lots now will also not have any services or sewer, electrical, water to those lots. And some of those lots are only 4,000 square metres.
Thank you for that, General Manager and Director. So I'll throw back to Councillor Flannery if you'd like to speak to your...
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, the motion was about providing housing, which is, there's a significant need for residential and large lot residential in all of our towns, I believe, although Bora is probably the best catered for. This is an area that has been noted on subdivision plans going back to the previous IDOs. The reason for the inclusion of the area south of Demondra Road is because when you look at the maps in the LEP document that we were all provided, the maps actually note that existing entitlements, for want of a better way of putting it, will be honoured as per those maps. So although it was zoned RU1, we had, even upon the original recommendation, we're voting through the 3.5 hectare allotments that were part of the council maps. The area to the north is an area that, yes, it does abut agricultural land. However, every urban location at some point abuts agricultural land, and I think it is catering for a need that is well sought after. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Flannery. Do I have someone like to speak against the amendment? Councillor Wallace is there, and there's a few hands up. Councillor Wallace.
Thank you. It's rather than speaking against, it's probably more of it's trying to clarify the responses from staff. The answer to Councillor Manchester's question from the General Manager said that effectively that what this amendment was quite, it can be done and there's no great problem with it, to paraphrase him. And the Director said if it's a substantial change, it ought to go back to the community. I suppose my question to the Director is it a substantial change, and should it go back to the community?
Yep, through you, Mr Mayor. The Harden LEP has identified approximately 112 hectares, the Hilltops LEP within the Harden area has identified 112 hectares of land to be rezoned, of which 85 hectares of that is for R5 zoning. So the increase of an additional 14 dwellings in an R5 zoning would be a substantial change, I would consider, and potentially to be exhibited to the community for comment. I suppose mainly because it does go from RU1 to R5, so that's going from rural to residential, and again, it is adjacent rural land.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wallace.
Yes, just to follow up the same question I have in relation to the other elements of the amendment. Are they substantial?
Councillor Wallace, can you just clarify for me what other part of the amendment you were referring to, please?
Well, there are 4 elements to Councillor Flannery's amendment, and I'm asking about each of those elements.
Councillor Wallace, we won't be dealing with any of those other matters at this meeting. The meeting's been called to clarify and work with item F, number 4, and that's the item that will be in consideration tonight. And the other matter.
With respect, Mr Mayor, isn't the whole LAP being looked at?
No, not tonight, Councillor. The extraordinary meeting, was called to look at one relevant point. So we'll deal with that firstly. Thank you, Bud.
And okay, well, follow-up question then, if I may, Mr Mayor.
Yes.
With proper process, is the director of the opinion if this motion is passed that it should be put out to public exhibition?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it will be, if it's the recommendation by council is resolved to endorse the resolution as put, and that is instruction for staff to send that to the department, and then that will be for the department to decide if that complies with that clause 3.33. That's probably the best advice I can give you at the moment. I know, yeah, that the what is substantial change, it's determined by the department, but for us as staff, I possibly would have supported placing it out on public exhibition.
Thank you for that. So I've got speaker against Councillor Wasp. Anyone else want to speak for the motion? Is there? If Councillor Armstrong's got his hand up, I'm not too sure. You're speaking for the.
No, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask a question, if I could, please.
Councillor Armstrong.
I refer councillors to page 84 of this document, the Hilltops 2040, and also page 87 of the document, in which it would appear as though the largest part of these lands, if not all of them indeed, were identified as rural residential, no servicing, greater than 2 hectares. I'm just wondering that, and over the page, the priorities are identifying locations of rural large lot residential development in proximity to Hardin Murrabara townships and provide guidance via planning controls. I'm just wondering whether the publication in the strategic document and the obvious opportunities for public comment would satisfy the consultation requirements, given that this particular resolution deals with those lands that would appear to be coloured yellow in this map here. So can I just have some clarification on that? I'm just a bit lost as to whether we may have already consulted in regard to these lands.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll pass over to the Landing Department.
Through you, Mr. General Manager and Mr. Mayor. So the Hilltops 2040 document is a different document compared to a local environmental plan. So the Hilltops 2040 document is, as we know, an aspirational vision document. It doesn't hold the legislative requirements under the LEP. So they are separate processes, they are separate documents. Just because something is in the local strategic planning statement doesn't necessarily means it needs to be within the local environmental plan in the short term. There are 2 separate legislative processes for exhibition. They are similar, but they are different. In relation to your outlining the LSPS on page 87, in terms of identifying other locations for rural residential development, there are other areas of Hardin that were identified as a part of that local strategic planning statement for further investigation as large lot residential, including that area to the west and also to the southeast as well. It is, from a council officer's perspective, it's not the same consultation between a strategy versus an LEP.
Thank you for that. Clarify, Councillor Armstrong. Have we got back to speakers against? Councillor Rolls. I'll go to Councillor Rolls.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I regret that I did vote for this at the last meeting because I have received some advice that perhaps the original amendment in itself was not valid. I think we've touched on some of the reasons why that is, and that's because of the lack of public consultation in what I see as very significant changes to the LEP. Quite some time ago, I know a motion was voted down because not so much the content because of the process. And here, I see the process as very wobbly. I think it erodes confidence in our LEP and in our council itself. After all the work that we've put in to the LEP, ably, may I say, chaired by Councillor Armstrong, who did recommend, I think 2 meetings ago, that we pass through the LEP as it was. For such significant change to be just brought from the floor, and I have an issue with that as well, actually, but I just cannot vote for this.
You can't have an issue. You can't have an issue with how democracy and process
Councillor
work.
Flannery, point of order. Councillor Rolls has the floor. Councillor Rolls.
As I say, the advice I have received and also that I am receiving suggests that this in itself is not valid, and that gives me concern about the confidence that our community will have in Hilltops itself. So I either vote against it or I abstain from voting, but I just cannot support this amendment.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, Councillor Rolls, if you abstain, the Code of Meeting Practice says you are voting against.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
The only way that you're not recorded as a vote is if you were to leave the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone want to speak for amendment? Councillor Manchester, you want to speak for, or you got a question again?
I got a question, another question, Mr. Mayor, through you.
You're welcome.
I'm talking about the proposed area on the south side of the Back to Mondle Road. This area is between Back to Mondle Road and the southern gates, the southern railway line. I'm just wondering, I do remember something when this was going through Harden, and it was certainly on the other side of the road. It was a sensitive area, classified as some sort of sensitive area, and prohibited fairly close subdivisions there. And I'm just wondering whether that's the same, whether that would be the case in this particular area. The area on the northern side of Back to Mondle Road is a different kettle of fish, but it was part of the Harden conversion LEP as a possible subdivision site. But I'll just ask. The main question is about the area on the southern side between Back to Mondle Road and the main railway line.
To the Director of Planning.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Council is aware of some constraints with that particular site for a dwelling due to the fact of the noise and vibration and odour of diesel trains going through that the ARTC and other CountryLink and all other train lines that use that particular freight line would also, and passenger line, there are significant setbacks and assessment criteria when applications are received, hence why the side that where areas do have dwelling abilities haven't actually built, which is on the side on that Burley Griffin Way. So it's very similar constraints on the other side of that railway line.
Thank you for that, Director. Okay, any other councillor like to speak in regard to the matter?
Question?
Councillor Armstrong's got a question.
Question, the technical question to the General Manager, Mr. Mayor. Should this adjustment to the motion fail, then it's my understanding that the current motion will stand, and the 500 odd blocks that are included in this in the original motion, arguably in error, will actually retain the R5 recommendation.
Councillor Armstrong, if you were to give me 2 more minutes, I'll make sure that matter is completely taken care of before this motion goes anywhere.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
I shall avail you of 10 more minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Wallace.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not quite sure cryptically what you're talking about, but by the same token, I'd like to foreshadow an alternate motion.
Would you? Maybe you'll save my breath, Councillor Wallace. What would your foreshadowed motion be?
Oh, it would just be to not proceed with number 4.
Would it be along the lines of that item 4 of dot point F is rescinded from the recommendations?
That would be it, Mr. Mayor. Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. That's seconded. Thank you. So, okay, we'll go back to dealing. Councillor Stadmiller first before we go any further. Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, can I foreshadow a motion if Councillor Wallace's motion doesn't get up?
Yes.
In regards to number 4, can it be placed back on exhibition so that we have a chance for the community to consult on this and we proceed after that?
Okay, got that noted. Leon, pencilers? Yep, thank you for that. So, is there any other speaker on the subject? If not, I'll throw back to Rob. Just bear with me, councillors, for a second. Councillor Stadmiller, we just want to confirm that the public consultation you're talking about would be for 28 days?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy with that if that fulfills the statutory requirements for those particular lots.
Thank you, councillor. So I was back to throw to Councillor Flannery for the right of reply on his motion. Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, pretty much I've said it all. Look, I think we should leave it to the department to determine whether it's got to go back out in public display. I'm happy with the amendments that have been provided. I think it adequately captures the intent. I find it very frustrating that we have these things like the LSPS and then we fail to put them into place when we've got the opportunity. So I think we should take this opportunity now to get a few things moving, and I look forward to support of the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. So on that note, councillors, I'll move the recommendation. It states that the altered motion would amend the following land parcels to R5 large lot residential with the minimum lot sizes as indicated, the DP numbers and the lot size numbers as in the report. All those in favour? Against? That motion is lost. We now will revert to the foreshadowed motion, which is that item 4 of dot point F is rescinded from the recommendations. I had a mover and a seconder. I'll put the foreshadowed motion. All those in favour?
We have Walker, Armstrong, Rolls, O'Connor, Wallace, Horton.
How many is that?
4, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Against?
Against.
Is
Flannery, Stadmiller
and
Manchester.
The foreshadowed motion is upheld. Item 4 of dot point 4 will be removed from the recommendation of the LEP. Thank you, councillors, for joining in this afternoon. First day of spring and a glorious day it is in Young. So take care, stay safe, and I'll now close the meeting at 4:57.